In Shadow Fight 2, Widow is introduced as the fifth demon boss that the protagonist Shadow must defeat to retrieve the seals needed to close the gates of shadows. She rules over a war-torn province, and Act 5 of the game is aptly titled The Greatest Temptation, highlighting the challenge she represents. The heroes Shadow and Mei, along with their ally Sensei, travel to Widow's territory after defeating the pirate Queen Wasp in Act 4. Sensei warns that this conflict is not their war, implying Widow's feud is with the prince, but notes that Widow would be a worthy opponent nonetheless. The team decides they must confront her to obtain her seal. Upon reaching Widow's domain, the first encounter is subtle but dangerous. As soon as Widow sets eyes on Shadow, she senses something different about him. All the men accompanying Shadow feel an overwhelming attraction to Widow at first sight. Shadow's friend Sly, a cunning scout, is immediately smitten and starts offering Widow gems as gifts, desperate to impress her. Even the disciplined Sensei admits later that he felt the pull of her magic, though his years of training helped him resist. Shadow himself, however, stands out as the only man entirely immune to Widow's enchanting presence. This immunity intrigues Widow greatly. And used to anyone resisting her, she looks at Shadow with keen interest. In fact, she remarks about him, "What do we have here? An interesting specimen. I've met so many men, so boring, so average, but there's something peculiar about this one. I'll keep my eye on you." This line, spoken when meeting Shadow, shows Widow's immediate fascination. Perhaps Shadow's immunity reminds her of the strong will of the prince who once rejected her, or perhaps she senses he's no ordinary human. Shadow at this point is literally a shadow figure without a body. Regardless, Widow lets the heroes proceed, possibly amused to test this special opponent. Before fighting Widow herself, Shadow must overcome her 5 bodyguards in a series of battles. These bodyguards are all formidable warriors hopelessly devoted to Widow. Tellingly, most of them are named after cold region animals, symbolizing Widow's cold-heartedness and indifference. They include Ibis, wolf, Capra, bear, and one female lieutenant named Puma. The first 4, Ibis, wolf, Capra, and bear, are male fighters who were suitors beguiled by her charm, fighting the player only because they mistakenly think Shadow is a rival for Widow's love. Each wields a unique weapon, batons, swords, spear, hammer respectively, and they serve as her loyal guardians. Puma, the 5th, is unique, a woman who follows Widow not out of enchantment but ambition, aiding Widow's cause perhaps to share in the power once Widow topples the patriarchy. Shadow defeats these bodyguards one by one in duels, earning the right to face Widow herself. The confrontation with Widow, the boss fight of Act 5, is a climactic test of the player's skill. In gameplay, Widow uses teleportation and magic, making her a tricky opponent. Story-wise, she taunts Shadow with sultry confidence. At one point she declares, "Fight my magic all you want, I like the struggle. No matter, I'll win and you'll stay by my side forever," a promise that she intends to enslave Shadow as her new trophy. However, Shadow ultimately defeats Widow in combat, overcoming both her and her regenerative tricks. This victory earns the hero the orange seal that Widow was guarding. Upon her defeat, Widow is forced to acknowledge Shadow's strength. Unlike some demons who perish or are utterly broken, Widow's reaction is noteworthy. She is impressed by Shadow rather than purely enraged. She hands over the seal without further deception, effectively conceding this battle. In the lore, it's a rare instance of Widow not getting the last word. Shadow's immunity to her charm and his combat prowess have earned her grudging respect. Widow's role isn't over after Act 5, she returns during the endgame sequence when Shadow attempts to seal the gates of shadows. After collecting all 6 demon seals, Shadow travels to the gates to close them and prevent Titan's invasion. Sensing this, all the defeated demons unite for a last attempt to stop him. Widow joins forces with fellow demon bosses, Lynx, Hermit, Butcher, Wasp, and Shogun, in a desperate bid. If the gates close, their source of power, and possibly their freedom, might vanish. In the boss gauntlet at the gates, Widow is the 5th opponent Shadow must face in succession. She fights with her full arsenal, likely hoping to outlast the already exhausted hero. Despite their alliance of convenience, the demons fail one by one. Widow falls again to Shadow's blade in this climactic confrontation. Nonetheless, Widow survives these events. When Titan's deceit later tricks Shadow into reopening the gates, this leads into the interlude chapter of Shadow Fight 2, Widow makes yet another appearance. In Shadow Fight 2, Interlude, as Shadow journeys through the reopened gates to face Titan, he encounters Widow guarding the path. This time, Widow doesn't fight simply out of malice, she tries to dissuade Shadow from advancing further, genuinely alarmed at what Titan will do. Before their rematch, Widow pointedly tells Shadow that Titan has been pulling his strings all along, and warns he's unlike any enemy Shadow has faced. It's almost a plea, perhaps the only way Widow knows how to protect someone is by defeating them, so she challenges Shadow one more time. Shadow, resolute in his mission, defeats Widow yet again in the interlude battle. Upon losing, Widow gives a final warning: Titan is orchestrating everything like a puppet master, and Shadow is doing exactly what Titan wants. This foreshadows the eventual twist of SF2's ending. Widow's last known act in SF2's storyline is essentially trying to caution the hero, a surprising turn that shows even a demoness like her feared the greater evil of Titan. After this, Shadow proceeds and ultimately faces Titan. Widow's fate post-Titan is not explicitly shown, but it's implied that she, like the other demons, survived the aftermath. Indeed, the Shadow Fight 2 Special Edition notes her status, alive following these events, meaning she was never killed, merely defeated and likely went into hiding or returned to the shadows. The story of Shadow Fight 3 takes place years after the events of SF2 and features a world divided into factions: Dynasty, Legion, Heralds. In this new era, the demonic threats of old are mostly thought gone or reduced to legend. However, Widow proves to be very much active behind the scenes. She appears in Shadow Fight 3 as a supporting antagonist during certain limited-time story events, primarily tied to the Dynasty faction. In these appearances, Widow operates under a veil of secrecy and charm, furthering her own agenda while ostensibly helping, or testing, others. Notably, along with two other SF2 demons, Lynx and Butcher, Widow is one of the only known shadow demons still at large by the time of SF3. One major event is the Lunar Festival. In this event storyline, the Dynasty Emperor invites a special guest to his celebration, none other than Widow, though her true identity isn't initially known. She poses as a talented fabric maker from afar, bringing exotic textiles as gifts to the Empire. Thanks to her powers of persuasion, the Emperor and his court regard Widow as a charming, esteemed guest. Widow's goal in Dynasty appears to be to ingratiate herself at the highest levels and perhaps sow chaos from within under the guise of generosity. During the Lunar Festival, she examines various legendary armors and outfits presented to the Emperor. Using curiosity as a pretext, Widow repeatedly requests duels ostensibly to test the quality of these armors. In truth, each duel is part of her scheme. The player character, a Dynasty warrior, ends up participating in a series of exhibition fights arranged by Widow's suggestions, fighting Imperial guards, renowned fighters, and even a visiting prince, all while Widow observes intently. After each duel, Widow rewards the player with a mysterious red envelope. These red envelopes are a festive tradition, but in Widow's hands they likely carry a hidden significance or enchantment. Over the course of 7 duels, Widow distributes these envelopes, perhaps using them to influence those who open them. At one point, a step prince named Tarlon joins the gathering, and he grows suspicious of Widow. He notices that she appears to have horns on her head, a shocking observation, and immediately warns the Emperor that their guest is not what she seems. Widow smoothly diverts attention by initiating yet another duel, cleverly preventing further scrutiny. She even makes an underhanded threat, joking that talkative, chatty birds will not live long, after confirming Tarlon's pet bird cannot speak of what it saw. Despite such close calls, Widow nearly completes her plan. It's implied that by the final duel, titled Torturous Nightmare, her true nature might be revealed or her scheme confronted. Ultimately, the Lunar Festival event ends with Widow's plot foiled. The player presumably resists her manipulation, and she does not succeed in corrupting the Dynasty from within. Another significant appearance is the Sanguine Forest event. This event delves deeper into Widow's connection with a dark cult. Throughout Dynasty lands, rumors whisper of a sanguine cult, a secretive sect that performs blood rituals and reveres a figure called the Nameless One. During the Sanguine Forest event, it is revealed that Widow herself is the Nameless One whom the cult worships. In other words, Widow has established a demonic cult in the dynasty, complete with followers who offer up wounded hearts and lifeblood in her name. She likely uses this cult to recruit desperate souls, promising them love or solace while actually driving them mad for her power. The event likely has the player interrupt one of the cult's sinister rituals in an ancient forest, eventually confronting Widow at the heart of it. While details are scarce, the wiki references it but not the full story. It's known that Widow's identity as the cult's deity is confirmed. The cultists call her the Nameless One, which of grievous tears, Mother Death viewing her as a dark goddess who can ease their pain, a tragic irony, as she's the one exploiting their sorrow. This storyline underscores that Widow's influence in SF3 extends beyond political games. She has a religious cult devoted to her, further expanding her arsenal of pawns. Widow also shows up in the Perfect Date event, a special Valentine-themed scenario. Interestingly, in this event Widow takes on a more ambiguous role. The SF3 data even lists her as an ally during Perfect Date. During the Perfect Date event in Shadow Fight 3, the Descendant receives an unexpected invitation from Widow, who claims to understand all forms of love, romantic, platonic, self-love, even the thrill of battle. She introduces her latest creation, a luxurious die called First Confession, and asks the Descendant to model for its promotion. What begins as a harmless campaign soon turns into a challenge of skill, with the Descendant participating in a timed heart-shooting trial to prove their appeal, using the Sun Synthesis bow to hit moving targets and gain shadow energy. As the event progresses, the focus shifts to gaining the attention of 4 key fighters, Kibo, Kitsune-1, Sarge, and Ironclad. Widow insists that winning hearts isn't about force, but about knowing what makes each person tick. The Descendant must undertake unique missions to impress each of them, whether through charm, strength, or wit, earning their attention in personalized mini-quests. Following this, the event deepens with a series of dates with each of the 4 characters. These aren't ordinary meetings, they're stylized challenges and one-on-one interactions that reveal glimpses of each character's personality and values. Some are humorous, others intense or reflective, all designed to explore different sides of connection and affection. Finally, Widow reappears, revealing that this was never just about a product or even romance. Through magical threads, she's been collecting the secrets of those involved, not to hurt them, she claims, but to understand them. Whether her intentions are genuine or manipulative remains unclear. What is clear, however, is that by completing the full event, including attention quests and all 4 dates, the Descendant earns access to the coveted Conqueror of Hearts gear set, symbolizing mastery over both battle and emotion. Throughout her SF3 appearances, Widow cleverly balances on a knife's edge, sometimes posing as a helpful figure within the dynasty, providing magical fabrics and advice, other times revealing herself as the demonic puppet master behind deadly encounters. She is aided by the fact that most ordinary people simply cannot resist or even recognize her. As noted in Dynasty lore, the reason no one notices Widow's horns is because of her charm. People would only see them if they are unaffected by her. Many characters remain blissfully unaware of her true nature until it's nearly too late. Only strong-willed individuals like the protagonist, or those already familiar with her magic, example, Shadow and May from SF2, who previously resisted her, can push through her illusions. Even the dynasty's mighty emperor fell under the sway of her charisma during the Lunar Festival, highlighting how formidable her social manipulation can be. In the end, Shadow Fight 3 does not conclude Widow's story definitively. Each event she appears in ends with her plans thwarted, but Widow herself escapes retribution. Whether slipping away into the night after the Lunar Festival or vanishing amid the chaos of a cult ceremony, she survives to scheme another day. By SF3's conclusion, Widow remains at large, a lingering threat and influencer in the world, her ultimate fate still open-ended. This leads into her next appearance, beyond the main narrative. Shadow Fight Arena is a spin-off title where many iconic characters from across the series become playable fighters in a competitive arena setting. Widow makes a grand return in Arena, sometimes referred to as Shadow Fight 4, as an epic rarity dynasty hero available to players. In this game, she is fully realized in 3D with all her powers on display. The lore provided in Arena reaffirms Widow's identity and legacy. She is explicitly introduced as one of Shadow's infamous adversaries, the Shadow Demons, whose seduction and danger go hand in hand. This reminds players that she was a major villain to the protagonist Shadow, from SF2, and now steps into a new fight. Widow was added to Shadow Fight Arena as a post-launch character with much fanfare. She was the 12th hero released after launch, and her dedicated trailer dropped on November 18, 2024. This trailer and update marked her as the third classic SF2 demon brought into Arena, following Lynx and Butcher. The fan community welcomed her return, not just for nostalgia but because she brought a unique mix of offense and support abilities to the roster. She is notably the only hero in Arena who can heal her opponent, albeit as part of a larger strategy. While Arena doesn't advance the plot, it solidifies Widow's legacy in the franchise. It shows that even after all her defeats, she remains an enduring figure, powerful, feared, and sought after, this time by players as a character to collect.